All right, so it's very, very clear and apparent that something has to be done in the WNBA. We are ready to get into the second half of the season, but thus far, the first half of the season has been filled with negative drama, nasty news articles, the WNBA looking like the complete circus and clown show that it is. Kathy Engelbert clearly cannot handle the job. And I believe that this is the time Adam Silver is about to step in. The signs have been pointing that way. He clearly inserted himself on the Caitlin Clark-Alyssa top.
Nobody ever imagined that the toughest opponent standing in the WNBA's way would be a group of executives sitting behind conference room tables and luxury suits. Somehow, a rookie who was expected to simply learn the league's pace and adapt to the competition ended up forcing the entire league to rethink and adapt around her. What began as a simple "welcome to the pros" moment quickly turned into a serious business crisis. And once Adam Silver stepped into the situation, it was clear this wasn't just about physical plays, hard fouls, or personal emotions anymore. The stakes had become much bigger. It was about protecting a billion-dollar future that suddenly appeared vulnerable, with everything potentially at risk because of one reckless hit.
I kind of want to talk about this because this, for me, is the worst one of the worst takes I've ever seen in my life. And it is hilarious looking back on this. Let's take a listen.
I don't know if it's going to be Caitlin doing it for Caitlin. I think an external event has to happen. Raven Johnson starts, right?
Oh my God. Can you imagine? Like,
I literally cannot.
I literally cannot imagine Caitlin getting cut.
Raven Johnson is only entering the starting lineup if it comes to the expense.
There was a strange irony in the position professional women's basketball suddenly found itself in. For years, the league had been searching for that one transcendent superstar, someone who could bring in millions of new fans, fill arenas night after night, attract major television partners willing to invest heavily in broadcast rights, and transform casual viewers into passionate supporters of the game. The WNBA had spent decades waiting for a player who could unlock that next level of growth, and now it found itself at a critical turning point.
I'm going to start with kind of a development in the Alyssa Thomas situation. She was suspended a game after that foul on Caitlin Clark. Since then, she was receiving a lot of hate, death threats, etc. Caitlin Clark herself also spoke out and said nobody in the league should be facing any kind of harassment. According to multiple sources, Adam Silver contacted Kathy Engelbert and told her something needed to be done. Like, essentially, he pressured her, allegedly.
Then, almost suddenly, that superstar the league had been waiting for finally appeared. But instead of the moment being defined purely by celebration and growth, the spotlight quickly shifted toward a much more controversial issue. Every incredible three-pointer, every highlight reel assist, and every packed arena came with another conversation happening at the same time. Another clip showing Caitlin Clark being sent to the floor, pushed off her path, or taking heavy contact that made fans question whether the officials were even seeing the same action unfolding in front of them.
People are giving Caitlin Clark some props today. Props because she is one of the only players over the weekend who actually tried to give fans what they paid for at the All-Star game. Jason Whitlock earlier today, he said Caitlin Clark put the WNBA on the map. Caitlin Clark saved the WNBA. And then Saturday night's All-Star game, she looked left, she looked right, and she saw her peers make a mockery of said All-Star game and destroy.
What started as a conversation about basketball slowly grew into something far bigger than the game itself. The discussion expanded into questions about leadership, business decisions, sports entertainment, and the overall future path of the entire league. Every controversial fall or physical play sparked a wave of reactions online, with thousands of fans, analysts, and observers weighing in and turning each moment into a much larger debate.
Silver just said today, the commissioner of the NBA, he wishes that Clark had been put on the team USA Olympic team.
Why didn't you say that, Rudy?
Because they're tired of funding this goddamn league.
They're tired of funding the league.
And I watched another podcast where there's a guy who does a lot of data stuff, and and I'll tag him on this. I forget his name, but I watched this guy's podcast, and he said that the projection this year for the WNBA is to lose $50 million. I don't know how.
Television commentators found themselves debating whether Clark was simply experiencing the usual physical challenges that come with being a rookie, while millions of new viewers watched the same moments and questioned why certain obvious plays away from the ball were not being called. The argument had moved far beyond basketball tactics. Every questionable decision by officials now carried consequences that reached into the business side of the sport. Behind closed doors, league executives were studying the same footage everyone else was watching, but they were looking at it through a completely different lens. Fans were focused on victories, losses, and performances, while league leaders were analyzing television numbers, sponsorship deals, merchandise revenue, ticket sales, and the future growth of the league. Every time Clark stepped onto the court, new attendance milestones seemed to fall. Indiana Fever games became among the most in-demand events in women's basketball, and merchandise sales increased across the league. Not just in Indiana, because Clark's presence was attracting attention from an entirely new audience. The business numbers were moving in the right direction, but every unnecessary physical play served as a reminder to executives that this momentum could quickly disappear if their biggest star suffered a serious injury.
The first half of the WNBA season, obviously for Caitlin Clark fans, was riddled with, back injury and, just non-clarity on her day-to-day, game-to-game situation. 1 minute she's playing normal, the next minute she's on a minutes restriction. The minutes restriction never comes off. Then she's off. I mean, it's just been a circus. All of the brutal attacks, all of the negative, nasty things that have happened throughout the league early on that is kind of taken away.
Clark's path to professional basketball had already been unlike anything the women's game had ever witnessed. Her incredible run at Iowa turned her into one of the most recognizable athletes in the United States before she even stepped onto a WNBA court. Her unlimited shooting range forced college defenses to completely rethink their strategies, while her elite passing ability and intense competitive mindset turned every nationally televised game into a must-watch event. By the time she entered the professional ranks, expectations had reached unprecedented levels, fueled by multi-million-dollar endorsement deals and a massive fan following that tracked her every move. But what many people didn't expect was how quickly the focus would move away from her basketball skills, away from her scoring, playmaking, and impact with the ball, and toward the physical challenges she faced before she even had a chance to make a play. Physical defense has always been a part of professional sports, but many fans and analysts felt some of the incidents involving Clark went beyond normal competition, raising questions about whether officials were consistently protecting players on the court. The controversy reached a boiling point during one of the season's most discussed moments, when Chicago Sky guard Kennedy Carter delivered an off-ball hit that sent Clark falling to the floor before an inbound play had even fully developed.
Kathy's a goner after this season. Once that season wraps, she's out of here. Okay? And we've been asking for that. We've been asking for a new commissioner of the WNBA. However, I fear on who Adam Silver is going to replace her with. It came out that Kathy did not want to suspend AT after her incident with Caitlin Clark. And then Adam Silver rings her phone and is like, no, you're going to suspend her ass. Flagrant 2, $1,000. And Kathy's hands aren't clean because girly pop, you should have a backbone. You're running this league. You can sit there and be like, I'm not doing that because it's wrong. And I truly believe she knows she's going to lose.
Clark's arrival forced the WNBA into a much bigger conversation than just basketball. What started with questions about hard fouls and officiating quickly became a debate about player safety, league growth, and protecting the future of the sport. Her popularity brought record ratings, packed arenas, rising merchandise sales, and increased sponsor interest, making it impossible for executives to ignore the impact she was having. But every controversial hit also raised concerns about whether inconsistent officiating could put that momentum at risk. The league began looking more closely at off-ball contact, defensive tactics, and referee decisions, aiming to protect players without removing the physical nature of the game. The goal was not to eliminate tough competition, but to create a better balance between defense, entertainment, and player safety. As Clark continued to attract new fans and elevate attention around the WNBA, the league faced a clear challenge: adapt its approach and make sure its biggest opportunity for growth was not damaged by preventable issues.